By Child is a poem written by Seamus Heaney, an acclaimed Irish poet and Nobel laureate in literature. The poem was published in his collection, The Ha Lantern, in 1987. By Child explores the theme of social and moral issues, particularly the mistreatment and marginalization of those who are different or marginalized in society. The poem is inspired by a real-life incident that occurred in Ireland in the 1950s. It tells the story of a foundling, a child abandoned and discovered in a remote rural area. The child is described as a by child, indicating that he is an outcast or an unwanted child. Heaney's poem delves into the complexities of the human response to those who are different or marginalized. The child becomes a metaphor for society's rejection of individuals who don't fit conventional norms. The poem raises questions about compassion, empathy, and the moral responsibility of society towards its marginalized members. Throughout the poem, Heaney uses vivid and evocative language to convey the harshness of the child's experience and the emotional impact on those who encounter him. The narrative voice reflects on the child's plight, portraying a sense of sympathy and reflection on societal attitudes. By Child is a powerful exploration of human nature, social norms, and the consequences of excluding those who deviate from the norm. It is a poignant commentary on the need for empathy and understanding in the face of difference and hardship. Seamus Heaney (1939–2013) was an Irish poet, playwright, translator, and lecturer. He is widely regarded as one of the most significant poets of the late 20th century and was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1995. Heaney's poetry is often celebrated for its rich language, keen observation, and exploration of themes such as Irish identity, history, and the human experience. Background and early life. Seamus Justin Heaney was born on April 13, 1939, in Castledawson, County Londonderry, Northern Ireland. He grew up on a farm, and his rural upbringing had a profound influence on his work, with many of his poems drawing inspiration from the Irish landscape and its traditions. Heaney attended Queen's University Belfast, where he studied English language and literature. During his university years, he began to publish poetry and became associated with a group of poets known as the Belfast Group. He later earned a teaching qualification and worked as a lecturer. Career. Heaney's first major collection, Death of a Naturalist, was published in 1966 and received critical acclaim. Over the years, he continued to produce highly regarded poetry collections, including Door into the Dark, 1969, Wintering Out, 1972, and North, 1975. His work often delves into the complexities of Irish history, politics, and culture. In addition to his poetry, Heaney was an accomplished essayist, and his prose works include Preoccupations, Selected Prose 1968–1978, and The Redress of Poetry, 1995, among others. Context and history. Heaney's literary career unfolded against the backdrop of the Troubles in Northern Ireland, a period of political and social conflict that lasted from the late 1960s to the late 1990s. The tensions between the Catholic nationalist community and the Protestant Unionist community deeply influenced the cultural and political landscape of the region. Heaney's work is often seen as a response to the political and social turmoil of the time, reflecting on identity, violence, and the impact of historical events. In the 1980s and 1990s, Heaney gained international recognition for his poetry. His Nobel Prize win in 1995 further elevated his status in the literary world. Throughout his career, Heaney remained engaged with both political and artistic concerns, using his platform to address social issues while maintaining a deep connection to the Irish literary tradition. Seamus Heaney passed away on August 30, 2013, leaving behind a substantial body of work that continues to be studied and celebrated worldwide. Summary of By Child. By Child is a poignant and evocative poem that explores the theme of societal exclusion and the mistreatment of those who are different or marginalized. The poem is inspired by a real-life incident involving the discovery of an abandoned child in rural Ireland. Introduction. The poem begins with the portrayal of a woman in labor, and the difficulty she faces in giving birth to a child who, when born, is described as having left a child-shaped hole behind. The child is referred to as a by child, suggesting that it is an outcast or unwanted. Labor and isolation. The poem reflects on the laborious process of the child's birth, emphasizing the pain and struggle involved. The father, who narrates the poem, describes pacing and wondering if any ransom could restore the child to its self-possessed state. There's a sense of isolation and desperation in his contemplation. Loss and reflection. The father, throughout the nights, sits beside his wife's bed, recounting how he once possessed her body and soul. The repetition of once suggests a sense of loss, and the speaker reflects on the connection between the physical and spiritual aspects of their relationship. Society's response. The poem delves into the societal response to the child, exploring how the community reacts to the unconventional situation. The use of the term, by child, reflects the child's status as an outcast, possibly due to deformities or differences that make the child undesirable in the eyes of society. Emotional impact. Heaney vividly captures the emotional impact of the child's existence on the father, the mother, and the community. There's a sense of sympathy for the child and a critique of a society that rejects those who deviate from established norms. Conclusion. The poem concludes with a somber reflection on the consequences of societal rejection, leaving the reader to ponder the complexities of human nature, empathy, and the moral responsibility of society towards its marginalized members. By Child is a powerful exploration of societal attitudes towards those who are different, emphasizing themes of isolation, loss, and the impact of social exclusion. Stanza 1. All night his wife in labor and in pain. Gave no body to the baby that was hers. 3 days and 3 nights he labored. Before the child ripped out of her thighs. And left a hole, a child-shaped hole behind. In the opening stanza, the poem introduces the laborious and painful process of childbirth. The woman is in labor for 3 days and nights, emphasizing the difficulty of the delivery. The mention of the child leaving a child-shaped hole behind suggests a physical and metaphorical void or emptiness. Stanza 2. He had paced his room, his garden, up and down, wondering if any ransom would restore the beloved body to its self-possessed. And every night he sat beside her bed, telling her how he had once possessed her body and soul. The body and soul. The father, during the labor, anxiously paces in anticipation. He wonders if any ransom could bring back the child's body to its complete and undamaged state. The repetition of once underscores a sense of loss, and he reminisces about the time when he possessed both the body and soul of his wife. Stanza 3. And the neighbors, good people, the kind of neighbors ready to help in any way, came to call, lifting the old hens down from the nests, stroking the feverish foreheads of the young ones, and making sure the pig was in the sty. This stanza introduces the neighbors who, in their kindness, come to offer support during the difficult time. Their actions are domestic and caring, attending to the needs of both the elderly and the young, ensuring the welfare of the animals. Stanza 4. But never a thought to a kindred soul, squirming in a lump beside the roaring fire. The father covering his child with an old coat, and the mother, weeping her late-born child, fighting the threadbare toweling. This stanza emphasizes the irony that, despite the neighbor's helpfulness, there is no consideration for the abandoned child who is neglected and hidden away. The parents struggle with poverty, as indicated by the threadbare toweling. Stanza 5. And the neighbors said, the poor child, the poor thing, the child, and the child squirmed in its lump. And the fire frowned. The neighbors express pity for the child, repeatedly emphasizing its unfortunate state. The child's movement is described as squirming in a lump, and the image of the fire frowning suggests disapproval or unease. Stanza 6. For it had indeed no finger ends. Like corn rigs, neither buttocks nor breasts, nor a neat little hollow between its legs, but was all of a lump from its head to its toes. This stanza describes the physical abnormalities of the child, highlighting its lack of distinct body parts. The child is depicted as a formless lump, further emphasizing its difference from societal norms. Stanza 7. And the neighbors said, ah, the poor child, the poor thing, the poor child, and turned away. The neighbors, while expressing sympathy, ultimately turn away from the child. This reflects the societal discomfort and rejection faced by those who deviate from established norms. Stanza 8. Back in its dark corner the child. Washelf the child it was. In its mother's arms. It could lie like a doll. All the limbs of it lifeless and loose and the eyes staring. The child, hidden away in a dark corner, is described as being only half itself. In the mother's arms, it resembles a lifeless doll, its limbs limp and eyes staring, suggesting a sense of abandonment and neglect. Stanza 9. Two eyes staring, staring alone. Out of its head that itself seemed a small thing, beside the immense achievement of its birth. The imagery of the two staring eyes suggests the child's isolation and the difficulty of its existence. The child's birth, described as an immense achievement, contrasts sharply with its subsequent rejection by society. Stanza 10. By child. The poem concludes with a simple, poignant phrase, by child. This serves as a stark reminder of the child's status as an outcast and an acknowledgement of society's farewell to the marginalized and different. The brevity of the conclusion adds to the emotional impact of the poem. By Child, by Seamus Heaney explores several themes, and here are some of them along with examples from the poem. Marginalization and exclusion. Example: the child in the poem is referred to as a by child, indicating that it is an outcast or unwanted in society. The child's physical differences lead to its marginalization and exclusion from the community. Isolation and loneliness. Example: the child is hidden away in a dark corner, and despite being in its mother's arms, it is described as lying, like a doll, with lifeless limbs. This imagery conveys a sense of isolation and the loneliness experienced by the child. Societal indifference. Example: the neighbors express sympathy by saying, "Ah, the poor child," but their actions reveal societal indifference. They turn away from the child, highlighting the community's discomfort and unwillingness to fully engage with those who deviate from societal norms. Loss and desperation. Example: the father wonders if any ransom could restore the child to its complete state, emphasizing a sense of loss and desperation. The repetition of once in describing his possession of his wife's body and soul adds to the theme of loss. Physical abnormalities. Example: the poem vividly describes the physical abnormalities of the child, such as the lack of finger ends, buttocks, breasts, and a neat hollow between its legs. These details contribute to the theme of societal discomfort with physical difference. Human compassion and empathy. Example: despite the overall indifference of the neighbors, there is a moment of human compassion when they stroke the feverish foreheads of the young ones and attend to the needs of the elderly. This suggests that, while society may reject the different, individual acts of empathy can still occur. Parental love and suffering. Example: the poem portrays the emotional impact on the parents, especially the mother, who weeps for her late-born child. The father's pacing and desperation during the labor highlight the parental love and the suffering caused by societal rejection. Consequences of prejudice. Example: the poem indirectly addresses the consequences of prejudice and societal norms that lead to the mistreatment and abandonment of individuals who don't fit the expected mold. The child becomes a symbol of the collateral damage caused by rigid societal expectations. These themes collectively contribute to the depth and emotional resonance of By Child, prompting readers to reflect on societal norms, compassion, and the treatment of those who are different. Let's delve into a more detailed analysis of Seamus Heaney's By Child. 1. Title significance. The title, By Child, immediately sets the tone for the poem. The term, by child, suggests a child who is abandoned or cast aside, emphasizing the theme of societal rejection and the child's status as an outcast. 2. Imagery and descriptive language. Heaney employs vivid and evocative imagery to depict the physical and emotional aspects of the child's existence. For example, the child is described as having no finger ends, lacking specific body parts, and being a lump from head to toe. This imagery emphasizes the physical abnormality of the child and underscores societal discomfort. 3. Symbolism. The child serves as a powerful symbol throughout the poem. It symbolizes those who are different or marginalized in society due to physical or societal norms. The child's presence becomes a vehicle for exploring broader themes of exclusion, isolation, and societal indifference. 4. Societal commentary. Heaney uses the narrative to comment on societal attitudes towards those who deviate from established norms. The neighbors express sympathy superficially, saying, "Ah, the poor child," but their actions reveal a deeper societal indifference and discomfort, ultimately turning away from the child. 5. Parental love and loss. The poem explores the emotional impact on the parents, particularly the father. His pacing, desperation, and contemplation of a ransom highlight the depth of parental love and the profound sense of loss experienced when societal norms dictate rejection. 6. Irony. There is a notable irony in the poem. Despite the neighbors being good people and ready to help, their kindness does not extend to the marginalized child. This irony serves as a critique of societal hypocrisy and the discrepancy between outward appearances and true empathy. 7. Rhythm and structure. Heaney's use of enjambment and a free verse structure contributes to the natural flow of the narrative. The pacing and rhythm mirror the father's restlessness and emotional turmoil during the labor and the subsequent societal response. 8. Themes of isolation and loneliness. The poem underscores the theme of isolation through the physical separation of the child, hidden away in a dark corner. The child's doll-like appearance and lifelessness evoke a sense of loneliness, emphasizing the emotional and physical abandonment it experiences. 9. Human compassion amidst indifference. While the overall tone suggests societal indifference, there is a subtle hint of human compassion. The neighbors, for a moment, engage in acts of care for the elderly and young ones. This contrast highlights the potential for empathy within individuals, even in a society that may reject those who are different. 10. Moral reflection. Heaney prompts readers to reflect on moral responsibilities, societal norms, and the consequences of rejecting those who deviate from the norm. The poem serves as a social critique, encouraging readers to consider the impact of societal expectations on individuals who do not conform. In conclusion, By Child is a poignant exploration of societal norms, exclusion, and the emotional ramifications of rejecting those who are perceived as different. Heaney's masterful use of language, imagery, and symbolism creates a thought-provoking and emotionally resonant poem. A critical appreciation of Seamus Heaney's By Child involves an examination of its literary elements, themes, and the poet's skill in conveying a powerful message. Here are some aspects to consider. Poetic craftsmanship. Heaney's use of vivid imagery and evocative language is a hallmark of his poetic style. The detailed descriptions of the child's physical abnormalities and the emotional turmoil of the parents contribute to the poem's impact. The free verse structure and enjambment enhance the natural flow of the narrative, mirroring the restlessness and uncertainty depicted in the poem. Symbolism and depth. The poem employs powerful symbolism, with the child serving as a poignant symbol of societal rejection and marginalization. The term, by child, encapsulates the theme, becoming a symbolic representation of those who do not fit conventional norms. The physical abnormalities of the child add depth to the symbolism, inviting readers to reflect on broader issues of diversity, acceptance, and empathy. Social commentary. By Child is a subtle yet sharp critique of societal attitudes and norms. Through the lens of the abandoned child, Heaney addresses issues of prejudice, indifference, and societal hypocrisy. The neighbors' superficial expressions of sympathy juxtaposed with their ultimate turning away highlight the dichotomy between societal expectations and genuine empathy. Emotional resonance. The poem resonates emotionally, eliciting a strong response from readers. Heaney captures the profound emotional impact on the parents, especially the father's desperation and the mother's weeping. The exploration of love, loss, and societal rejection tugs at the reader's emotions, making the poem a deeply moving and memorable experience. Irony and contrast. Heaney skillfully employs irony to underline the contrast between societal expectations and individual acts of compassion. The neighbors, described as good people, reveal the irony of their indifference to the marginalized child. This technique emphasizes the complexity of human behavior and societal norms. Universal relevance. While rooted in a specific context, By Child addresses universal themes of exclusion, isolation, and the consequences of societal norms. Heaney's ability to connect a local incident to broader human experiences makes the poem relatable and relevant to readers across different cultural and societal backgrounds. Moral reflection and social responsibility. The poem prompts readers to engage in moral reflection, encouraging them to consider the consequences of societal judgments and the responsibility of individuals to show empathy. By portraying the child as a victim of societal norms, Heaney advocates for a more compassionate and understanding society. In conclusion, By Child is a powerful and thought-provoking poem that showcases Seamus Heaney's mastery of language and his ability to address complex societal issues. Through its literary craftsmanship, symbolism, and emotional resonance, the poem invites readers to reflect on the human condition, empathy, and the moral responsibilities embedded in societal norms. Setting. The setting of By Child is not explicitly defined in terms of a specific location or time. However, the poem is grounded in a rural context, likely in Ireland, given Seamus Heaney's Irish background. The rural setting adds to the atmosphere of the poem, emphasizing a close-knit community and perhaps a traditional, conservative environment. Tone. The tone of "By Child" is somber, reflective, and, at times, critical. Heaney addresses a serious and sensitive subject, the rejection and mistreatment of a child with physical abnormalities. The tone reflects the emotional weight of the themes explored, conveying a sense of sadness, empathy, and concern for societal indifference. There is an underlying critique of societal norms and a call for reflection on compassion and empathy. Writing style. Seamus Heaney employs a free verse style in "By Child," characterized by its lack of strict rhyme and meter. The poem's structure is fluid, with enjambment used to create a natural flow, mirroring the emotional turmoil of the characters. Heaney's writing style is marked by vivid imagery and descriptive language, allowing readers to visualize the physical details of the child and feel the emotional intensity of the situation. The use of repetition, such as the repeated phrase, "the poor child," enhances the rhythmic quality of the poem. Genre. By Child falls within the genre of contemporary poetry, characterized by its exploration of modern themes and the use of free verse. Heaney, a prominent figure in contemporary literature, often addressed contemporary social issues in his poetry. The poem also exhibits elements of social commentary, as it delves into the societal treatment of those who deviate from accepted norms. The thematic depth and the exploration of human experiences align with the characteristics of contemporary poetry. Seamus Heaney (1939–2013) was a highly regarded Irish poet, playwright, translator, and lecturer. He is widely considered one of the most important poets of the 20th century and received numerous accolades for his contributions to literature, including the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1995. Here are some key aspects of Seamus Heaney's identity as a poet. Irish identity and context. Heaney's poetry is deeply rooted in his Irish identity, and his works often explore themes related to Irish history, culture, and identity. He was born in Northern Ireland, and the Troubles, a period of political and social conflict in Northern Ireland, had a significant impact on his life and work. Nature and landscape. Heaney's poetry frequently engages with the natural world and the Irish landscape. His descriptions of rural life, farming, and the physical environment reflect a deep connection to nature. He often used vivid and sensory language to capture the beauty and harshness of the Irish countryside. Language and craftsmanship. Heaney was known for his mastery of language and poetic craftsmanship. His poetry is characterized by rich imagery, meticulous language, and a keen sense of rhythm. He often drew inspiration from local dialects and folklore, blending them with classical influences to create a distinctive poetic voice. Social and political engagement. Many of Heaney's poems engage with social and political themes, particularly in the context of Northern Ireland's Troubles. While he was not overtly political, his works often explored the impact of conflict on individuals and communities, addressing themes of violence, identity, and reconciliation. Human experience and universal themes. Heaney's poetry goes beyond regional or political concerns, touching on universal themes of love, loss, family, and the human experience. His ability to weave personal experiences into broader, relatable themes contributed to the universal appeal of his work. Myth and history. Heaney frequently incorporated mythological elements and historical references into his poetry. This blending of the contemporary with the timeless allowed him to explore the complexities of Irish identity and history while connecting with broader cultural and historical narratives. Translator and essayist. In addition to his poetry, Heaney was a skilled translator, bringing works from Old English and classical literature into modern English. His translations, such as Beowulf, received acclaim for their linguistic artistry. He also wrote essays, offering insights into his own creative process and reflections on literature and society. Recognition and awards. Seamus Heaney's contributions to literature were widely recognized during his lifetime. In addition to the Nobel Prize, he received numerous awards, including the T.S. Eliot Prize and the Whitbread Book of the Year Award. Overall, Seamus Heaney's legacy as a poet lies in his ability to capture the essence of Irish life, address universal themes, and contribute significantly to the literary landscape with his lyrical and thoughtful works. His impact continues to be felt, and his poetry remains studied and celebrated globally. Significance. Seamus Heaney holds significant importance in the literary world for several reasons. His poetry, deeply rooted in Irish identity and history, addresses universal themes with meticulous craftsmanship. He is considered a major figure in contemporary poetry, and his works have left an enduring impact on literature. Relevance. Heaney's poetry remains relevant due to its exploration of timeless themes such as love, loss, nature, and the human experience. Additionally, his engagement with social and political issues, particularly during the Troubles in Northern Ireland, speaks to broader concerns of conflict, identity, and reconciliation. The universality of his themes ensures continued relevance for readers worldwide. Legacy. Seamus Heaney's legacy is multifaceted and enduring. His body of work, spanning over 5 decades, has left an indelible mark on literature. His impact extends beyond poetry to include translations, essays, and lectures. He has inspired subsequent generations of poets and writers, shaping the trajectory of contemporary Irish literature. Contribution to literature. Heaney's contribution to literature is marked by the richness of his language, the depth of his themes, and his ability to seamlessly blend the local with the universal. His translations, including the acclaimed Beowulf, showcase his linguistic prowess. He contributed significantly to the evolution of contemporary poetry, offering a distinct voice that resonates with readers across cultural and linguistic boundaries. Impact on poetry. Heaney's impact on the world of poetry is profound. His poetry collections, such as Death of a Naturalist, North, and The Ha Lantern, have become classics. He expanded the possibilities of poetic language and form, influencing subsequent poets with his exploration of myth, history, and the intricate relationship between personal and communal experiences. International recognition. The award of the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1995 solidified Heaney's international recognition. The Nobel Committee praised him for works of lyrical beauty and ethical depth, which exalt everyday miracles and the living past. This recognition elevated his status on the global literary stage. Cultural and national symbol. Heaney is often regarded as a cultural and national symbol for Ireland. His poetry captures the essence of Irish life, history, and landscape. The themes of identity and the Troubles, addressed in his work, contribute to a deeper understanding of the complexities of Irish culture. In summary, Seamus Heaney's significance lies in his profound impact on literature, his ability to explore universal themes through a local lens, and his enduring legacy as a poet whose works continue to resonate with readers worldwide. His contribution to poetry, coupled with international recognition and a lasting cultural imprint, ensures that his influence will endure for generations to come.